Let me tell you about the week I learned that in America, you don't just fight for your property with tools and deeds. Sometimes you need a whole damn binder, a spine of steel, and a stubborn streak that scares the hell out of HOA board members. Yeah, I said binder. You laugh now. But by the end of this story, you'll see why a man's best defense isn't always a shotgun or a lawyer. Sometimes it's a three-ring binder and the will to stand your ground. Picture this. I hadn't even unpacked the last box in my new house. Hadn't so much as opened a cold beer on my own dock before trouble came stomping down my shoreline. Three of them HOA board, all matching sunglasses and synchronized swagger like they thought they were the Navy SEALs of petty neighborhood politics. You ever see folks who confuse authority with performance? That was these people. Clipboards held tight to their chests, chins up, acting like they owned the sun. The tallest one, a big fella whose shirt had given up the fight against his stomach, stopped at the edge of my dock and smirked. "There it is," he said, "the community dock." Just like that. Now I'd spent the last year and a half rebuilding that dock with my own hands, every board, every bolt, every LED strip for night fishing. I didn't move here for the house. I moved here for that dock, that water, that little slice of peace my deed said belonged to me clear as day. And now here was Captain HOA claiming it for the community like he was taking inventory at a garage sale. His sidekick, a woman with a smile so hollow you could park a truck in it, steps up with a clipboard already open. "All waterfront structures fall under community shared usage. We'll need you to relinquish individual control. Consider this your first notice." She delivered it with all the warmth of a tax audit. I tried to stay calm, but you know how your blood gets cold and hot at the same time. That was me. "Ma'am, I said this dock is on my lot legally. I have the plat map in my truck if you'd like to see it." She just tapped her clipboard like a judge banging a gavel. "We're not here to debate. We're here to inform." The third guy, a scrawny, jittery type, mumbled about how the dock was perfect for community events. Let me back up a sec. I've worked 15 years in county water management, spent most of my career refereeing fights between property owners and slick developers. I've seen every dirty trick, every creative interpretation of the law. But watching three strangers stroll onto my shoreline and declare my dock theirs, that was a new brand of arrogance. But I didn't raise my voice. Didn't step toward them. I knew the game. The first person to shout always looks weak in the end. "Who exactly told you this dock belongs to the community?" I asked. "All waterfront assets automatically fall under HOA management," the woman repeated like it was scripture. Only funny thing, my deed said nothing of the sort. But they weren't looking for the truth. They were testing me. They snapped a photo of my dock, told me to expect official paperwork by Monday, and marched off like they'd already won. I just stood there watching their backs disappear, realizing this wasn't a misunderstanding. This was the start of a fight they thought I'd lose. I spent that night walking the shoreline, checking every survey pin, every boundary marker. My plat map matched every metal stake. The dock was mine, no gray area. Which meant the HOA folks weren't mistaken. They were lying. Next morning, before the coffee even hit my bloodstream, there's Celeste. Pastel sweater, teeth clenched, smile clipboard shielded against her chest. "We should clear up yesterday's misunderstanding," she chirped. "Misunderstanding, sure." She handed me a photocopy, top half smudged, bottom half highlighted. "All waterfront structures shall remain under community access for aesthetic and equity purposes." I didn't even take it at first. "Where's the header bylaw number signatures?" She stiffened. "This rule's been in place for years. Everyone follows it." I pressed. She blinked just for a second, the mask slipping. "Mark, you're new here. Some things take time to understand." And on it went, until she finally admitted she'd try to get me a copy of the full document. That was the crack I needed. She wasn't expecting pushback, not from me, not from anyone. She and her enforcer, Gary Captain Stomach, regrouped and warned me to show up at Wednesday's HOA meeting with my deed if I felt the need. Yeah, I'd be there. Then the notices started. Grass too high. $25 fine. Trash bin left at curb 14 minutes past pickup. $50 fine. Mailbox color, non-compliant. Another $75. Petty stacked mechanical meant to break a man's spirit before he even finished unpacking. The neighbors watched me walk my own property like I was a ghost already. Only one Mrs. Patterson gave me a sympathetic nod before disappearing behind her curtains. See, that's the twist in these stories. It's never just about a dock or a fence. It's a power play. If you bend once, you bend forever. But I wasn't built for bending. I cataloged every violation, documented every threat, and started assembling my binder. Because evidence isn't emotional, it's ammunition. They sent a compliance inspector next, a balding guy in an HOA windbreaker who tried to push past me for an on-the-spot inspection. I blocked him. "Show me where that's written." He stammered, retreated, snapped photos of my house and truck. Surveillance as intimidation. Classic move. Only now it was getting personal. The next morning, someone hammered survey posts into my lake bed at dawn, neon orange flags fluttering in the breeze. Not the county, not the state, private surveyor, no permit. I waded in cold water, soaking my jeans, checking every tag, snapping photos. Then I saw him, a man in a fleece vest, clipboard in hand, sunglasses fixed on me from across the inlet. Not HOA developer. That's when it clicked. The HOA wasn't acting alone. Someone with money and plans was pulling the strings, and my dock, my little sliver of peace, was the keystone in their whole project. So I called Celeste, who authorized the survey, our consulting engineers. "On my land, we have long-standing access rights. Show me." She couldn't. I filed a cease and desist with the county and sheriff, then mapped out where those posts pointed straight to the best spot for a community dock or boat launch. They wanted my shoreline because it was perfect, and their rules were just smoke. Days blurred into strategy, more violation notices, more fines, more pressure. Neighbors whispered new guys being difficult. Gary circled, tried to intimidate me, mailbox, fence, driveway. I responded with legal filings, a fence across the dock entrance, and a big sign, "Private property, no trespassing." Not aggressive, just fact. Then came the showdown, a full-blown picnic on my dock, courtesy of Celeste's invitation to a community event. Kids swinging from my LED lights, chip bags, beer cans, the works. I kicked them off calmly but firmly. The disrespect didn't faze me, but their confidence did. They genuinely believed this dock was theirs. Why? Because Gary and the HOA told them so. That night, Gary showed up circling my new fence, hungry for a fight. You know, he said some people appreciate beautiful things. Others don't deserve them. I stared at him. "Why do you want this dock, Gary?" His eyes went cold. "That's above your pay grade." He slipped a violation notice in my mailbox, accused me of unauthorized construction, and warned me to reconsider before things get complicated. That was the threat I'd been waiting for. The HOA meeting was a circus. Gary and Celeste presented a historic dock sharing agreement, yellowed paper, fake signature, the whole 9 yards. Only problem: the ink was too new, the signature too smooth, the story too perfect. I called them out, offered to pay for forensic authentication in front of the entire community. Gary snapped. The crowd gasped, and the spell broke. Celeste's mask crumbled. Neighbors started questioning everything. After the meeting, Mrs. Patterson and old Arthur folks who'd seen plenty pulled me aside. "Developers, not the HOA, are running this," they whispered. "Gary's just the muscle. They want a corridor through your shoreline." Celeste, shaken, finally admitted she'd been manipulated. "I'm sorry for what I allowed," she said, tears in her eyes. For the first time, she was honest. I spent that weekend digging. County records, plats, old permits. And there it was, a 15-foot county-owned easement along the lakefront. No HOA, no private party, not even the developer could legally touch the shoreline without explicit permits. Every community dock, every so-called tradition, every rule, Gary and his pals tried to enforce all of it illegal. My dock, the only one with a proper permit. So at the HOA picnic in front of everyone, I dropped the hammer. County records, court filings, the works. This lakefront is county easement. Any unauthorized structure is illegal. The deputy sheriff nodded. The developer turned ghost white. Gary tried to argue, but nobody listened. The HOA collapsed overnight. The next morning, county notices hit every mailbox: remove illegal structures in 30 days or face $10,000 fines. Neighbors scrambled. Gary stripped of power, wandering like a ghost. Eventually, he lost everything: position, house, reputation. Karma, you know. 6 months later, the community was different. New leadership, real transparency, people actually reading the rules before enforcing them. Celeste apologized genuinely this time. "Leadership isn't control. It's responsibility," she said. "I accepted because grace is worth more than grudges." The county opened a real public access point down the shore. The new family who bought Gary's house planted flowers instead of fences. Arthur waved from the trail. Mrs. Patterson grew tomatoes for everyone. My dock. Still there, still legal, still mine. And maybe that's the lesson when you know what's rightfully yours. You don't need to shout or fight dirty. You stand your ground not because you hate your neighbors, but because you love the truth more than their lies. Sometimes justice looks like a man on his dock at dawn, coffee in hand, water, calm at last. So let me ask you, where do you draw the line between community and control, between tradition and law? Would you stand your ground or give in for the sake of peace? Drop your thoughts below, especially if you've ever faced off with a bully hiding behind a clipboard. Justice needs company. And if you want more real stories like this, hit subscribe. I'd be glad to have you on the dock with me for the next one.